Alright, today we're going to be learning about the next level of how to write a linear equation from a table. Now in this case, they won't have the y-intercept for you in the table, but you're able to figure it out using the pattern recognition that you've been doing all along. Now again, our goal is to write a linear equation, so that's always y equals the slope times x plus the y-intercept. Y equals mx plus b. Now my first job should always be to try to figure out what is my y-intercept from the table. So let's look at the pattern that they've been doing so far. So the pattern from 14 to 11 is that they subtracted 3. From 11 to 8, they subtracted 3. From 8 to 5, they subtracted 3. From 4 to 3, they subtracted 1. From 3 to 2, they subtracted 1. From 2 to 1, they subtracted 1. This means that if I'm going to subtract 1 again, I'll get an x of 0, which is what I want because in the y-intercept the x is always 0. And then you subtract 3 again, and you get your y is 2. Now if you notice, both my x's and my y's are moving in the same direction. So I should already have a self-check that my slope should probably be positive since these are both moving in the same direction. But we're going to still formally figure it out. So for slope, again, we always do slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. The difference in the y's divided by the difference in the x's. So we can go ahead and label that we have x1, y1, x2, y2. So we'll go ahead and subtract the 8 minus 5 over 2 minus 1 gives me a slope of 3 over 1, aka 3. Just like usual, you will always need to simplify your slope. So I get that my final equation is y is 3x plus my y-intercept, that's my b, plus 2. So my final answer is y equals 3x plus 2. To recap, I used my table to figure out the pattern and figure out what my y-intercept should be. Then I can go ahead and calculate my slope just the normal way. Alright, let's try this with a different example. Now go ahead and pause the video. I want you to try this example on your own. Go ahead and pause the video. Welcome back. Good to see you again. Alright, so let's look at the pattern here. From here to here they added 2. From here to here they added 2. From here to here they added 2. We're going to go ahead and add 2 again, so we get 7. From here to here they subtract 1. Here to here they subtract 1. Subtract 1, subtract 1 again. Boom, I've got my slope, 0, 7. So that means not my slope, my y-intercept. I've got my y-intercept is 7. I can figure that out from the pattern. Again, my y-intercept is whenever x is 0. So my y-intercept is 7. Alright, now we've got to figure out my slope. So again, go ahead and label that you've got x1, y1, x2, y2. So my slope is going to be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So then I get 3 minus 5 over 2 minus 1. Again, the order is important. It's not about which number is bigger or anything like that. It's that I picked that these numbers go first because I called them x2, y2. They better go first here. 3 minus 5 gives me negative 2. 2 minus 1 gives me 1. Negative 2 divided by negative 1 is just negative 2. So what's my final equation? Go ahead and pause the video and see if you can write your final equation. My final equation is just negative 2 times x plus 7. My slope times x plus my y-intercept, 7. Let's try this for another example. Now note, just because you see a 0 doesn't mean that's necessarily the y-intercept. It's when x is 0. When there is no x and there's only a y left, that's your y-intercept, because remember, it's where it crosses the y-axis. So this is not your y-intercept. Go ahead and pause the video and try to figure out this problem. Alright, welcome back. We're going to again start by looking at my pattern. Every single time I'm adding 2. So I'm going to add 2 again, and every single time I'm subtracting 1. So I'm going to subtract 1 again. So I get that my y-intercept is 2. Now I can move on to finding my slope. And if I notice, these guys are moving in opposite directions. So as a self-check, I already know I should probably get a negative slope. But let's check. So we got x1, y1, x2, y2. So we're going to go ahead and find slope again, as always, y2 minus y1, difference in my y's, over x2 minus x1, difference in my x. So then I get negative 4 minus negative 2 divided by 3 minus 2. Negative 4 minus negative 2, if you remember from middle school, that becomes negative 4 plus 2, because we're subtracting a negative, over 3 minus 2 is just 1. Negative 4 plus 2, that gives me negative 2 divided by 1. That is just negative 2. And that self-check of, well, if it's opposite directions, it should give me a negative slope, still works out. Now let's go ahead and actually write our equation. Go ahead and pause the video and see if you can write the equation on your own. Welcome back. You should have gotten y equals negative 2x plus 2. Because we're adding our y-intercept. Now if my y-intercept happened to be negative, I would just subtract it instead. And then we get that our slope is always being multiplied by our x. So we get y equals negative 2x plus 2. If you're wanting to take a picture of this video for the purpose of your notes, you really should have been writing it down, but you can go ahead and screenshot that. Good luck. Please reach out if you have any questions.